Bryant for hours.
Oh, love me a Dooney. But when I worked there, I would always wear, all these outfits were like skin tight. And one day my boss, this woman who looked identical to Shrek, Judith, was like, I use her real name because she was so rude to me several times. And she was like, Nicole, we got to talk about the way you're dressed. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I mean, your boots aren't in season. And I was like, everyone wears boots like this. And she was like, well, I mean, maybe your clothes are also a little too tight. And I said, what is this? I was like, you can't see anything. I'm wearing a turtleneck. She was like, yeah, but I can see like your bra through it. It's too tight and it's unsightly. But like, it was just like, you're telling me I can't show what my body looks like at a store catered for fat people? It's FUBU, for us, by us. It's literally for the fats. And you're telling me this fat can't be as fat as possible in this skin-tight outfit? I hated Judith. She was literally Satan. Petty to my death.
Petty. Yeah. You know, reading this book, talking to you now, it seems like you're really confident in what you believe and what you feel certain about, and you're someone who speaks your truth. Are there still things you feel uncertain about that you're still working through that, you know, might be in the next book?
I mean, not body-wise, but maybe like, I don't know, before every stand-up show, I kind of get in my head and I'm like, will these people like it? Am I funny? Will this be the day that I'm not funny anymore? Because that happens to a lot of comics, and you can see it in their specials, that like they were funny at one point, came back to do a special, and then they weren't funny. I worry about getting to a point in my career where nobody tells me no or criticizes me. Like, you think that like Lindsay Lohan got out of control by herself? No, she just had a bunch of people around her being like, yes, queen, go to that club. Yes, queen, you're not that drunk. Yes, queen, drive your car. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's like people don't take care of you, and they let you just run around and do whatever. So I try to keep it chill and grounded, and I don't know.
I'm into that. Chill and grounded. The thing that I take away the most from the book is that, like, your message of just like accepting your body, it feels like this big truth, and it's almost like, I don't know, it feels, it's like, I don't know, like the gospel according to Nicole Byer. And especially talking with you about church now, I'm like, if Nicole Byer had to make a church right now, what would the gospel according to Nicole Byer be? What's the first sermon?
It would truly just be like, love yourself. Like, really just, I started doing therapy a couple years ago, and my therapist was like, why do you want to do therapy? And I was like, to change into a better person. She's like, why do you want to change? And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, well, there you go. Like, you don't need to change. You just need to accept who you are and make choices that better yourself, as opposed to put yourself in a worse position. And I was like, whoa. So like, that's how I live now. And then I say in the book, I think it's at the end, I'm like, this doesn't have to be just about bikinis. This can be about any hurdle in your life. If you like want to be an animator, but you're like, I don't think I'm good enough. It's like, I don't know, that's what you want to be, so go try to do it. Like, don't worry if you're good enough. You are. You are good enough.
The Nicole Byer Church of You Are Good Enough.
Yeah.
What would you play at the church? What kind of music?
Oh, probably a lot of Megan Thee Stallion. A lot of Doja Cat,
yes,
Beyonce,
Nicki Minaj. Thanks again to Nicole Byer. Her book is called #Very Fat, #Very Brave, The Fat Girl's Guide to Being #Brave and Not, a dejected, melancholy, down in the dumps, weeping fat girl in a bikini. Talk about a book title. I love that. All right, listeners, this week, It's Been a Minute was produced by Janae West, Anjali Sastry, Andrea Gutierrez, Liam McBain, and Audrey Nguyen. We had engineering support from Leo Del Aguila, Peter Elena, Quasi Lee, and Neil T-Vault. Also, huge special thanks and shout out to NPR's Alt Latino podcast, Go Listen. Our intern is Nathan Pugh. Our fearless editor is Jordana Hokeman. Our big boss is NPR's Senior VP of Programming, Anya Grundman. All right, listeners, till next week, go find some good music and dance to it. I'm Sam Sanders. We'll talk soon.
Support for NPR comes from this station and from Angie. Angie's List is now Angie, committed to helping homeowners find the right pros for home improvement projects. Homeowners can read reviews, see upfront pricing for hundreds of projects, and book appointments at Angie.com. And from Aspiration, a digital banking alternative designed for people who care about the environment. Customers can plant a tree with every swipe. Aspiration.com/green. Aspiration Financial, LLC.
Hi, this is Craig Maddock for SDPB. For all things sports in South Dakota, make sure to check out our podcast, In Play. We cover in-depth conversations with players, programs, and state legends. It's more than just the highlights. To listen to In Play, go to sdpb.org/podcasts. Made possible by the exclusive support of Lake Area Technical College. It is you.
You can support local music by supporting the network that gives local musicians voice and opportunity. From A Moment in Sound to Jazz Nightly, we're on air and online at sdpb.org.
This is South Dakota Public Broadcasting. From the campus of the University of South Dakota, this is KUSD-FM Vermilion at 89.7.
Lawmakers investigating the mob attack on the Capitol want some Trump allies to appear, but there's a roadblock: claims of executive privilege. Former Attorney General Alberto Gonzales explains how those claims could affect the investigation. For Saturday, October 16th, it's All Things Considered. Michelle Martin. U.S. News is now ranking elementary and middle schools, why its former editor says stop the madness.
It's clear that U.S. News and other publications have found that this is a great business, but the effects, as far as we can measure them on the schools themselves and the students, is overwhelmingly negative.
And got issues? See TV's latest trope, the black lady therapist.
But instead of, just being the best friend, she actually gets paid. So I guess that's kind of a plus side.
First, this news.
Live from NPR News, I'm Janine Herbst. A memorial service was held at the U.S. Capitol today for the nearly 500 law enforcement officers who died in the line of duty in 2019 and 2020. President Biden was on hand, saying the public doesn't fully understand all of what is expected of law enforcement. And NPR's Franco Ordonez reports Biden used the U.S. Capitol riot as a case in point.
Speaking from the U.S. Capitol, President Biden paid special recognition to those who responded to the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. More than 150 officers were injured in the Capitol riot. 5 died in the aftermath.
Because here 9 months ago, your brothers and sisters thwarted an unconstitutional and fundamentally un-American attack on a nation's values and our votes. But because of you, democracy survived.
He said being a police officer today is harder than it's ever been. Noting his own family loss, Biden told attendees that no parent should have to bury a child. Franco Ordonez, NPR News.
The Pentagon says it will provide condolence payments to the family members of the 10 people killed in an errant U.S. drone strike in Afghanistan in August. NPR's Deepa Shivaram has more.
On Friday evening, Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby said the Defense Department was committed to the victims' families from the botched drone strike in August. Defense officials said the strike was targeting the perpetrators of the Kabul airport attack that killed hundreds. But only civilians were killed in the strike. Among them, Zamari Ahmadi, a longtime aid worker in Kabul who had no affiliation with ISIS or ISIS-K. The Pentagon didn't specify how much money they will provide in these condolence payments, but they did say they were coordinating with the State Department and members of Mr. Ahmadi's family who are interested in relocating to the United States. Deepa Shivaram, NPR News.
Texas is looking to approve new district maps for the U.S. House of Representatives today. Haya Penjwani from member station KERA has more.
Senate Bill 6, the proposed bill accompanying the redrawn map in the Texas legislature, creates 2 new seats in the state based on population growth from the 2020 census. Texas Republicans are seeing accusations of gerrymandering and threats of potential lawsuits, since state Democrats say that they're taking away seats from growing areas with high numbers of people of color. The census showed that cities and suburbs with people of color fueled roughly 90% of Texas's population growth. If the map passes the Texas House later today, it'll go to Governor Greg Abbott's desk, where it will be signed into law. I'm Haya Punjwani in Austin.
And you're listening to NPR News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the Annie E. Casey Foundation, using research and evidence to develop solutions that help families and communities create a brighter future for young people. More information is available at aecf.org.
Good afternoon with SDPB News. I'm Kyle Ireland. Recent census data shows a drop in population for some legislative districts with a majority of Native American residents. That means those districts will have to expand to include more people. SDPB's Lee Strubinger reports.
Neither tribal members nor residents in nearby towns want these districts to expand. Both House and Senate redistricting proposals would expand District 27, which encompasses the Pine Ridge Reservation, to include the eastern Pennington County towns of Wall, New Underwood, and Quinn. Kevin Killer is president of the Oglala Sioux Tribe and a former state lawmaker.
And how's that even justifiable to sit there and say, okay, this is going to be your new boundaries for the next 10 years?
Those living in towns where the district expands are also against it. Mary Williams is president of the Economic Development Corporation of Wall. She worries the redistricting proposals would dilute the region's vote.
After visiting with those legislators, they too can see where it would be best for District 27 to keep their boundaries just the way they are now.
However, lawmakers are bound by the state constitution to use census data for redistricting. State Senator Mary Duvall is chair of the Redistricting Commission.
We've heard over and over again concerns about the accuracy of the census data, but our Constitution is very explicit.
Some say the commission should acknowledge a census undercount and leave District 27 and 26 alone. Democratic State Senator Troy Heinert represents District 26. He says some proposals could land the state in court.
I will guarantee you we will get challenged, and the state of South Dakota will more than likely lose.
Lawmakers have until November 8th to draw maps. That's when both chambers meet to decide on new legislative boundaries. I'm SDPB's Lee Strubinger.
For more news from SDPB, visit our website at sdpb.org/news. You're listening to listener-supported South Dakota Public Broadcasting.
This is All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Michelle Martin. President Biden attended a ceremony today to honor fallen law enforcement officers. The ceremony was held outside on the west lawn of the U.S. Capitol, the same place the president reminded his audience where the January 6th attack on the Capitol unfolded.
Is here 9 months ago. Your brothers and sisters thwarted an unconstitutional and fundamentally un-American attack on our nation's values and our votes. But because of you, democracy survived.
Last night, the president said he thinks those who defy subpoenas from the House committee investigating the January 6th attack should be prosecuted and held accountable. The committee has issued subpoenas for several former Trump administration officials, seeking their testimony to determine what happened before, during, and after the attack. But lawmakers are running into a roadblock.